let's talk about the big news of the week. Apparently now the information has trickled out or dripped out or trickled down and dripped or whatever the case that Punk and AEW are negotiating potentially. This has not been confirmed. We haven't seen documentation of this, but that's the story going around. Punk and AEW are working on a contract buyout, and that the holdup is a non-compete clause. So the one good thing that has happened to this company over the last year, they get a major star. He produces ratings. He produces gates. He produces good television. He produces good matches. And Tony Khan cannot keep his fucking nursery school from fucking up this goddamn deal and pissing off his star. And now, instead of telling Twinkle Toes and the Cucamonga kids, hey, why don't you all go back and play with your fucking schoolgirl friends in Japan? Because I need real talent, because I'm in a promotional war and my ship is taking on water. Now he's going to talk to Punk about a buyout. Does that mean he's going to bring the other three back? Or will he buy Punk out and just fire the other three for putting him in this position to spend probably a few $1 million at minimum to never have his biggest star on his television again? Your thoughts before I get too pissed off.
I mean, it's very sad that this is the ending and this is where we've come to. We'll talk about the non-compete because that's the very interesting aspect of this, because no one has really thought about the idea of CM Punk going to WWE until all this has popped up.
Uh-huh.
I will say it's almost poetic. It's almost as if it was scripted perfectly. CM Punk debuts in Chicago with The First Dance. Same building that Michael Jordan had The Last Dance in. And they just had that ESPN documentary series, The Last Dance. CM Punk has, in my eyes, and everyone has their own opinion and their own thoughts, has almost a perfect year. His feuds, his promos, his matches, even the ones I wasn't crazy about, they told a story. Nothing was phoned in. And we had one amazing year. And he went out in the same place he had The First Dance. He had his last dance. And what better way to script the ending? Wins the world championship, knocks out the troublemakers in the back. Now he's going to get fired for it. I mean, the problem is it was set in stone in a way. Because the only way this was going to work is if Tony decided he was going to take charge and put his foot down. But Tony had Mega, who wanted CM Punk fired, and Jericho wants CM Punk fired. So who that talks to Tony is going to bat for CM Punk? Nobody. So now it's Tony's thoughts versus all these people saying, fire Punk. It's sad. I hope this isn't the last we see of CM Punk. That's my other thing. As a wrestling fan, I tremendously enjoyed his last year. Like I said, everything. It brought a sense of realism to that program. And people reacted to it. So it's not just me saying it, other people felt it too. I just hope this isn't the last we see of him. And if this is the last of him in AEW, if all this is true, it was the best run anyone's had in AEW.
Hey, that is actually perfect because you were right about everything you said. He came in, he produced in every metric, television ratings, gate, pay-per-view, match quality, promos, everything. The only person in the 3 years of this television program, everything he did pretty much made sense, except for the shit that he had to coexist with. And then he basically, on his last night, wins the world title and beats his shit, and Ace Steel along with him beats the shit out of the fucking guys running their fucking pie holes behind his back and tells the public what he thinks of them. But it should have ended up with those three being exiled and Punk after his injury. And here's another thing that I don't even think we've said this. Maybe somebody else has brought it up. He had to know that he had torn his what did they say, torn a tricep or whatever the injury was. Okay, he had to know that that was in some way damaged. And do you think he's sitting there at fucking midnight or whatever it was in Chicago going, all right, I've put up with these motherfuckers. I have tried to talk to them and I've tried to talk to Tony about it. I've done this business for these people. I've brought these eyeballs on this company for these people. I've put up with these children. And now I'm fucking probably hurt and I'm tired and I'm old and I work with children. And you know what? I might not get the chance to say some of these things in public again that need to be said. So here we go. Give me some muffins. It makes sense now. Because the one thing that you can say about Punk and the one thing that I admire about him is he doesn't take bullshit. He will tell you you're full of shit. And he did. He told the whole world who was full of shit because he couldn't get it rectified any other way. So now the problem is Tony has allowed his lack of leadership and the people he's chosen to do business with, who are all, as we've mentioned, mortified that real talent came in the company and showed them up and outdrew them and outperformed them, and they couldn't take it, and they wanted to get him out of the way. And now if Tony does buy this contract out and Punk doesn't come back, but the other jackoffs do, then we will see again that he doesn't want this business to get bigger. He wants to play with his action figures and promote indie-rific, outlaw-style wrestling because that's what he likes and that's what all of his friends want to do. And he'll pay them as much money as they need to have to be happy to do that for him.
On the other hand, we will have an amazing passive-aggressive war between the Jericho side and the fucking Elite side. And we haven't had that yet. And that'll be coming up.
You know, the locker room angles are more entertaining than what's on television. I wish they'd just feed the security camera to TBS. But here's about the non-compete. Right now, I would have said at any point in time, no, Punk doesn't want to go back to the WWE. Punk doesn't have to go back to the WWE. He's still got his fuck you money. He's going to get bought out for a lot of money if that happens here, or else if he comes back, he'd get paid a lot of money. Nobody's going to be doing any fucking GoFundMes. But now would be the perfect time for Triple H to show the world that he will put business in front of personal feelings. Because, again, one of the greatest lines in the history of wrestling, it was never uttered on television, was what Punk said to Triple H in the locker room. I don't need to work with you. You need to work with me. But that's not, I hate you and your family, and I hope Stephanie gets run over by a herd of thundering goats or whatever.
Although there may have to be some apologies for firing him on his wedding day. That may be be one they have to apologize for.
But no, see, here's the thing. There's no real apologies that Triple H needs to ask for. He needs to offer some. And I would imagine...
That's what I'm saying. They fired CM Punk on his wedding day. He needs to offer some apologies.
But who was in charge? Vince McMahon. And 8 years later, whatever it is, now, depending on what this non-compete clause is, Triple H can go to and say to the world and say to CM Punk, it's all changed. We're about business. Let's get together. It's all about business. No personal feelings. And
have you met Nick Khan?
Have you met Nick Khan, one of the slickest guys in the world? And here's several $1 million. And then they've got the goddamn top talent that AEW has had on their television over the past 3 years on their TV.
And Cody.
And Cody. One of the EVPs, the top in-ring star, depend on what happens in 2024, maybe MJF, who knows. But it would make a statement to everybody else in the business and the locker rooms. they'll make up with anybody and they got money to spend because they're serious and it's a new regime. And so now, again, they would make Tony look like an idiot at a point where his whole company has already made him look like an idiot multiple times. And even if it's 6 months from now or whenever he gets finished with his surgery. So that's probably what the holdup is. Tony Khan said, well, if I'm going to pay you, then you shouldn't be able to go anywhere for however long your contract was for. Well, maybe I'll just sue you for your EVPs busting in my locker room and causing a goddamn fiasco. So we'll see how it plays out.
If you're Tony, are you demanding a non-disclosure agreement?
Jesus Christ, we know that Tony sleeps with those under his pillow.
Right, but that doesn't mean you have to agree to it.
Yeah, are you buying my contract back or are you buying my silence? Two of those prices may be different.
I hope he doesn't sign an NDA.
Well, everybody's going to know what happened, just not how much. Nobody needs to know how much. But everybody's going to know what happened. And now, again, if you are a serious talent in the wrestling industry, if you're not just a young rookie that has no other chance but to get on television or to make any kind of money, or if you're not an old veteran that just wants to coast and laugh at the goofs that you're sitting looking at and get a bunch of money from a billionaire, there's no reason to go to AEW. If you're a serious talent that will outdraw and outperform the EVPs and their friends, or if you're not in their clique and you're not in their social circle and they don't like you, well, then you're fucked because the boss is not in charge. So it doesn't matter whether the boss signs you to a contract or not. Then you're putting your career in the hands of Matt and Nick Jackson. I understand sit in, according to what I've been reading on Twitter or on the internet, sit in on the production and booking meetings. Twinkle Toes, when he's there, sits in. Talk about whistling stranger in paradise. These morons sitting in on a wrestling booking session. So that's who any serious talent would be placing their careers in the hands of. A feckless, ineffectual leader that lets his talent run rampant over him, and a bunch of jealous, indie-minded, as you said, passive-aggressive little fucking twats that basically run anybody off that either is not in their friend circle or that can get over them, which is almost everybody in a serious wrestling business.
If the Bucks survive this, who do you think comes out on top, them and Jericho, in terms of backstage politics?
Well, but now, see, remember, the Bucks are still dealing then with an old master when it comes to conniving. And Jericho is, he's very polished with that. So, and also we know that he loves coups and insurrections. So keep an eye. He could be storming the gates of Daly's place anytime now.
I'm sure Hager will be with him.
Hager will be right there alongside of him.
So CM Punk, I mean, here we are. If this really is the end, how do you look at his AEW run?
I really couldn't disagree with anything that you said when you ran it down. His matches have all made sense. Somebody's go, oh, but he botched a fucking buckshot lariat or what? Big shit. Look at that program. Maybe CM Punk wouldn't have looked so good over the last year if he was on a good television program, but he wasn't. But everything that he did made sense, was serious, didn't insult the wrestling business. It drew money, it drew ratings. It was the promos, whatever, everything you said. If that was something they could have built off of, if Tony was smart enough and if the other people weren't working against him. But because they're so schizophrenic, because they have to have their falderall and their best friends hugging each other and the goddamn lizard man and all that Southern California PWG bullshit that nobody wants to fucking see. And that's why they tune it out by the hundreds of thousands. They were working at cross purposes. If you'd have had a young, serious lineup of talent ready to go in some interesting situations underneath guys like Punk and Danielson when they were both doing ratings, then you could afford to lose some of the top guys because people would be more interested in your newer talent now, with the exception of MJF, who gets himself over. Again, who on the male or female side is in a better place now, is more over, is more popular, is more of an asset to the program than when they made their surprise appearance for the first time or when they first showed up? Nobody.